I remember the hospital a little bit, and I remember waking up in the bus that night. I think it was that night. It was very dark in my room. And I went to stand up, and of course I was really woozy. And I was a little confused. And I remember thinking, crap, I don't think I made it.
With as many people and moving parts as there are involved with putting on a show, there are countless things that can go wrong. Likely, most of the shows that you've ever seen have gone on despite at least one thing not going to plan. But this is the heart-wrenching story of a day that went so wrong, the whole tour came to a screeching halt.
So we had a show in Missoula, Montana, and it was my birthday, and that happens to be where my roommate is from. And so she had asked me, one, if she could come to the show, since it was like a hometown thing for her, and two, if I wanted to go do something for my birthday. So I said the only thing I wanted to do was go horseback riding in Montana. So she reached out to some friends of hers that own a ranch, the Oxbows, and they have a bunch of like working horses.
We thought we'd get up early in the morning, have a cool breakfast, and go over to Bart and Wendy's to ride horses, and we did. They were wonderful. Bart even had this joke ready for us that he had named all of his horses after our songs. It didn't take long to be like, wait a minute, that horse's name isn't Voodoo Doll.
And we went horseback riding. It was great. Having the best day ever. Literally cried about it. It was so beautiful out there, and it was so pretty, and you couldn't think about anything other than what was happening, which is exactly what I really wanted to do that day.
Yeah, it was just an amazing opportunity and such a huge privilege to be able to talk to Ashley McBryde and have her come ride with us on our ranch. And it was an amazing day.
And we rode through the water, we rode over a bridge, we did all this amazing stuff that I had never done before.
But I really wasn't nervous for any of that stuff. Plus, these horses work together all the time, and they work with these humans all the time. So it's kind of a situation where you could have put a toddler on the horse, and it still could have ridden across this river with no problem. But I thought it was really cool.
Wait, how you doing, bud?
I'm living my best. This is the best day of my whole life.
Thank you, Jen. Let's go.
I love it.
If you do, well then don't be afraid to take me by the hand. If you want to, think this is how love goes. Check yes or no.
I'd been on a horse named Blue all day, and she was older and had a lot of opinions. But eventually, Bart had me switch over to a horse named Jenny. And the one thing we didn't do, because we were on our way back to the house to get us ready to go back to the venue, we didn't shorten the stirrups. It seems like that's not a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Annalisa and I were like a little tired of walking, so we decided we wanted to kind of take off for a few minutes. And I think Ashley's horse got a little excited and she wanted to come too.
And I know the way to stop a horse that is running really fast is to grab one rein as close to their jaw or close to their bit as you can and pull as far this way or as far this way as you can. So what I did was stand up on the left stirrup and put my hand on the saddle horn so I didn't get hit in the chest a bunch of times, right? Because that would suck. And I don't know if it was because of how fast she was running. It's really hard to know. But I leaned a little too far. Goodness. Bart said that from his point of view, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything to make it worse. But the fact remains that according to physics, if you're going that fast, standing on one leg and leaning that direction, you fall.
Ashley hollered, I lost a stirrup, and the next thing I know, I see Ashley go off the left side of our Jennifer horse.
We turned around and rode back really quickly. I ran over to Ashley and realized that we had a doctor and a nurse with us. So Wendy and Caroline were there, like checking her pulse and doing like mouth to mouth and all of that. And so I kind of stood to the side. And
when I got there, Ashley was unconscious and there was blood behind her head and she was not breathing effectively. So I immediately assisted her breathing and gave her mouth to mouth, and did that for a couple of minutes until she started breathing on her own, and I was assisting or holding her airway so that she was ventilating. And a little while after that, Ashley opened her eyes, and that was a huge sigh of relief, huge relief for all of us there.
After a minute, I realized once she kind of started trying to talk to us that there was, like, we were going to the hospital and there was no way a show was happening. But I didn't want to call Sereno in front of her and talk about it in front of her because I didn't want it to scare her more than what she probably already was. So
at that point, Bart had left and he had gone to get an ambulance, and the rest of us were there assisting Ashley. And as those moments went by, Ashley started to become more conscious and started to move all of her extremities, which was another huge relief. Through all of that, just looking into those beautiful blue eyes and seeing the strength of her handling the situation and realizing kind of what situation she was in was just amazing, and learned how tough she is, which we continued to learn through this whole process.
They released her from the hospital pretty quickly, and we loaded her into Caroline's car and put her back on the bus.
Yeah, I think the deal with that my doctor had said, don't plan on doing anything for 14 days. We're talking like rest, like bed rest. 30 days was preferable. 14 was mandatory. 6 is what I was willing to do.
She couldn't really, like, walk, which we didn't understand exactly at the time why she couldn't walk, because the CT showed that everything was okay at the time. So we thought maybe she's just really sore because she hit the head, then the shoulder, and then her hip.
I can't remember thinking, when can I do a show? But I can remember thinking, I got to do a show. And my main worry at the time, especially with everybody saying you shouldn't, please don't do that, is if I don't do it now or when I think I should do it, then when? And if we wait too long, won't my fear of not being able to do it be larger than my injury?
The first several shows back, she was pretty much on bed rest. She wasn't allowed to walk around. She had a really bad concussion that she really probably shouldn't have been listening to loud sounds and standing in front of lights, but she's a very stubborn and strong person. We're going to call it strong. So she spent pretty much the whole day in her bed, and she would get up and I'd have to help her walk in. We actually had a wheelchair for the first, I think, 2 shows. And I'd push her in on her wheelchair, and she'd move from her wheelchair to the chair, and then I would get her ready, and then we would wheelchair her to the curtain because she didn't want to be in the wheelchair in the arena in front of people. So she'd walk from the wheelchair to the stage and then back, and then get back in the wheelchair and come back. So, and then go right to her room and go lay down again. So she was literally out of her bed for a total of probably 3 hours a day for the first 3-ish shows, I think. So it was a pretty big difference in her life, for sure. And I actually think that was pretty much how she spent the rest of that run.
I don't know what that is. It's wired in us. But you have to go do the thing that you do was heavy on my brain and my heart. And not only just because there are 10 or 11 other people that need to go to work, but this is what I do. And if I can't do it, I'm not really sure what I am. I think a lot of us feel that way, but yep, I was like, I'm doing a show.
How are you feeling?
A little dizzy, but mostly just excited to do the show. I don't think it's anything I can't handle. It's not like, whoa.
Dana kept us in touch. We wanted to know how Ashley was doing, just, you know, constantly, but also didn't want to bother Dana. And so we made the decision that we needed to see Ashley in person. And we flew to Denver, and I believe it was 3 weeks after the accident that she was performing in Denver. Ashley was gracious enough to invite us back to meet her again in person. And at that point, oh, I didn't think I was going to get emotional. At that point, we got to reconnect. And I started crying. Everybody, I think, started crying. But that's when we really learned the extent of Ashley's injuries and what she kept doing through all of that. And that's when we learned what an amazing, real, compassionate, wonderful human being she is.
First and foremost, we never like to cancel a show if we don't have to. For one, a lot of people, I mean, this is something they look forward to. They spend a lot of money on it. There's babysitters and hotels and flights and all sorts of things that go into people coming to a show. And they've planned for this and they've been excited for this and they have made sacrifices for this. And, you know, so I think everyone's number one goal is to, in the safest way possible, make it to the show. And there's a lot of self-sacrifice that goes into that maybe isn't the healthiest all the time, but that is like our number one goal at the end of the day, because everybody that works in this whole crew and band, like everybody loves what they do and couldn't do it without the people that like come to these shows. So letting them down is, I think, the last thing that we ever want to do.
Larger than life. You have to be larger than life. And the best news is the part of you that's larger than life is just one aspect of yourself that you happen to turn up or put extra glitter on when you're on a stage. And I think there's more power in saying, I'm hurt and I need help. And I'll give you 1,000%. You've heard me say that to you guys when I had the vocal injury. I will always give you everything I've got. But when I don't have it to give, I need to tell you so.
We got back to Nashville and we sent her immediately for more scans, like an MRI and all this stuff. And it turns out she had broken her pelvis, and there was a piece of bone fragment that was floating kind of around in there, and it kept hitting nerves, which was causing numbness in her leg and her hand. So we didn't know that was happening, and it did eventually like fix itself, but it took about 12 weeks for that all to kind of heal. So
I have been so impressed with Ashley's grace through the whole process, and her humility and her strength, and once again just feel like it's surreal that I have a friendship, a family ship with Ashley McBryde because of this circumstance. And the universe offers us things that aren't always easy, but creates connections that are more meaningful than you could ever imagine. So thank you, Ashley, for being who you are. Thank you for continuing to connect with us. We love you.
I can tell you that rest is the best way to heal. And sometimes that can feel like we're being lazy or we're somehow not trying hard enough. But if you'll just let your body rest, it does a good job of healing itself. But also, like I said earlier, it's okay to let someone see you hurt. It's okay to bet on yourself when you're not at 100%. Surround yourself with people that won't allow you to walk up an incline or up a flight of stairs without assistance. Give yourself friends and a support system that will feed you, that will help you do everything you can to the best of your ability when you're really in a really shitty, vulnerable spot. Always shorten your stirrups.
I, in my gut, did not feel good about us doing any of the shows that we did for the rest of that 2 weeks that we had left. Solely because I was worried about her injuring herself further and then her not being able to perform for longer. I do think that there's a lot of pressure there. She loves her fans and her band and crew and everybody so much that she will push herself more than I think that she should in order to take care of them. And we've seen that a lot with her, where she's done a lot of things for us that really stretched her. And so that was actually really tough to watch. I do think she kind of felt like she had to prove something to herself. But I do think that the responsibility that she felt for everyone else was more overpowering than like the injury.
We're going back to Missoula, and we're playing Oklahoma.
Yep.
September 30th. It's a year and 8 days.
Yep.
Afterwards. What are your feelings about that?
I'm glad we get to make good on the show. I'm hoping we can go over to Oxbow and see the horses. Dana may go for a ride that day. My mother has told me I'm not getting back on the horse. I have told her not only am I getting back on the horse, I'm getting back on the horse. Not too long ago, Jenny got hurt. And I keep up with Mr. Bart and Miss Wendy. And I keep up with Jenny. And Blue, too. But, Blue does not remember me. Jenny does. Like it or not, Jenny and I are connected. And when she got hurt, I was really worried about her. So I would like to see her. That's my hope. Mostly, I'm just happy that we can make good on the show. But I do think that would be a nice close to that chapter if I can just give her a little pat on the head. Here we go.
Good grief. Let's just pull her on in here. Babies. There's the babies. Yeah, baby. Good morning. Good morning. Look at that. I like this.
Hi. Oh, it's so good to see you.
Do you need me to open the gate so you can get out?
I can't not get emotional.
I know we're already crying.
Hi. Good. Hi. Oh.
Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Hi, I see you.
Okay, woman.
Hi. I brought hankies just in case. Look where we are. Well, I'll say good morning to you too. Good morning. You got my back, dude?
He's sniffing you.
It's just a hanky.
I know.
This episode may not have as much to do with being a musician or being on the road, but I still wanted to tell the story. Not to over-dramatize the events or make Ashley seem like some kind of superhero. Quite the opposite. I wanted to tell the story because it's that of a human. It is a testament to how finding one's purpose and building a life and building a support system devoted to that purpose can turn a mere human into an indomitable force. And as far as Ashley and her willpower go, I feel like Bart said it best.
They don't make them any tougher than Ashley McBryde, I'm here to tell you.
Gotta be